Hi everybody, welcome to another edition of Too Opinionated, where I'm having the best day. Today I get to talk with actor, director, producer, acting coach, entrepreneur, Michelle Danner. So welcome, Michelle.
Hi, how are you?
That's a lot of hats.
Yeah, sometimes they go hand in hand with one another.
Yeah, yeah. So Michelle, thank you so much for doing this. I'm a big fan of yours. I want to get into how you got into acting, but I got to bring this up first because I'd actually seen one of your movies that you directed. We were talking a little bit off camera. So Ron Perlman, Jason Alexander. Was it How to Get a Date in Queens? Is that
How how to go out on a date in
How to
Queens?
Go Out on a Date in Queens? Yeah. So I've seen that one. Such a good movie.
Thank
Really
you.
enjoyed that. So I was curious, how did that project come about, and how did you get such a good cast? Because it was loaded.
Yeah, it was a great cast. It was my first movie.
Yeah,
I had been teaching acting for a good decade, and it was the natural progression, I think, of wanting to just keep raising the bar and
yeah,
challenging myself. And we had workshopped it at our studio, and it was originally written as three one acts by a writer who lives in Queens,
yeah.
Richard Thierry, and we intertwined the stories. And we had a great time shooting it. I learned a lot. This was, of course, a very long time ago.
Right.
But it was, you learn. I'm, since then, I've done other movies. I'm on my fifth movie right now.
Oh
Actually, I'm
wow.
preparing for my sixth movie. So it feels like a long time ago. It feels like an eternity ago. But, it was just a great experience. It was the only movie out of all the movies that I've shot that I shot on Kodak, a top
Oh,
stock Kodak. So I didn't shoot it on. After that, I shot them on Alexas, but this was on Kodak. It was on film, and so it was. Yeah, it was great. It was great, and
what's the
yeah.
difference in those two?
Well, when you have film, you have to be more. When you have digital, you can just keep shooting take after take.
Right,
When you
right.
have film, it's expensive. So, as a matter of fact, the big joke, because it was my first movie, my friends came on to do it, and the big joke on set, which now looking back on it was not so much of a joke, was one or less. And what we were saying is one take or less, because it's like you have to nail it on
That's
one
right. You
take,
got to save some money.
because we're shooting on film. So yeah, it was. Well, we did it and we had fun. I shot in New York too. I was in New York in a helicopter, and it was all a learning experience. Everything teaches you
Right.
something as long as you remember the lessons and try to not make the same mistakes. Uh, I think that's the name of the game.
Do you look back now that it's been several years? Do you look back at that one and say, "Oh, I wish I would have done this differently"?
Oh yeah, but I try not to. I try. I have an 18-year-old who studies, film, and I haven't shown him my movies yet. I haven't shown him
Oh,
neither How to Go on a Date in Queens nor Hello Herman. Well, he did see The Bandit Hound because he actually played the kid in it. And in my last movie
yeah,
that I just finished, called The Runner, that is playing the festival circuit,
yeah.
he
That's
helped
exciting.
me. He helped me quite a lot. He actually was responsible for the music, and he did music supervising on it.
Oh
And so
wow,
he was
that's
very,
pretty
very
good for
helpful.
18.
Yeah, he did good. He
Yeah,
did
that's
good.
really good. Yeah, yeah. Talk a little bit about the runner. What is that one about?
It's probably now up to date. Certainly, I think the most personal movie for me.
Yeah,
It started one night after I watched a news report about how high schoolers get roped into being informants for the
right.
police, and wear wires to try and bring down the big drug kingpin or whatever town it is, whatever, city it is. And some of the stories that I watched ended, pretty badly. And
Sure.
I was really, I just started to cry. I was really, and I don't cry that easily. I really don't. I'm not sentimental in that way. But this just really hit me. I just started to cry, and I
Yeah.
woke up the day after and I wrote a treatment, uh, 3-page treatment. And I had just finished a movie called Bad Impulse, psychological thriller, horror, supernatural, that just
Yeah.
came out in December. And the writer was Jason Chase Terrell, wonderful writer, and
Yeah.
a good friend and a good guy. And I called him up and I said, I got this idea for this movie. Can you write the screenplay? And he's so gifted, and he wrote a beautiful screenplay. And he was on set quite a lot, which was wonderful.
Yeah.
And we just shot it right before the lockdown, right before the pandemic. And it was great that we did, because I feel like we got in the elevator as the door was closing, because another month we couldn't have shot it.
That's
And
right.
we were thinking actually that we were going to push it down to April. So that would have not worked. We would have never made that movie. So I feel great that we did it. And
Yeah, that's terrific that you beat the I don't know, kind of the clock there.
we did it. And during this whole time, I was able to find a way to edit that felt more relaxed to me than other
Yeah.
times. For one, I wasn't so much running on the treadmill. I was just quietly at home with my editor, who was here. He was on lockdown here with us.
Oh,
And
okay.
we're, looking at different takes and trying different possibilities. And I was just really relaxed. And that was a really good thing.
Yeah, yeah, that's actually terrific. I mean, at least you were able to get something positive out of this last year.
Oh,
And so now
yes.
that one's going around the film circuit now.
Yeah, we just found out we got into every day. It looks like we're getting into a new film festival. We got into the Montreal Independent Film Festival.
That's
We're
awesome.
this week premiering at CineQuest. The next one is World Fest in Houston.
Yeah,
There's another one in New York that we're going to announce. And yeah, we'll see. I mean, we've just started, but we've
yeah, that's
already won
that's
some
exciting.
awards. So yeah, it's great.
Are they actually holding the film festivals this year, or are they still going to be done remotely?
In Houston, they're holding it in person.
Yeah,
And depending, I was thinking of going.
yeah, you
Cinequest,
should.
I'd like to.
Yeah,
Cinequest is virtual this year, as were other film festivals. They've all been virtual so
I
far.
know.
Slowly but surely, we're going to come out of this. And little by little, I'm also the artistic director of a theater complex in Santa Monica, and we've been shut down for a year.
Right.
And so we're looking forward. I'm rehearsing a few theater projects, and we're really looking forward to be able to reopen and everybody be safe and be
Yes.
able to experience live theater, because we need that.
Yeah, we missed that.
We miss it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I
First
was
time.
lucky enough to go to Sundance last January, and it was right before everything shut down. As soon as I got back, they were shutting stuff down, but we kind of slipped under the wire. But then from there on, the rest of the year, they were either canceled or virtual. So that's encouraging that at least some of them are getting back to being live.
Yes, we're gonna get out of this tunnel. There's light for sure. Might
That's
take
right.
a few more months, but it will happen.
That's all right as long as we're making progress.
Yeah.
So I got us off on a tangent, but I wanted to ask you, what made you want to get into the entertainment business, and how did you go about that?
Well, my father was a producer.
Yeah.
Um, and I say was because he's passed away. He was a producer. He actually started the very first William Morris agency in Paris,
Oh,
off the
okay.
Champs-Élysées, in the 60s. And they named him as president of the William Morris because
Yeah.
he was a producer that was very well known in the international, arena.
Right.
So I remember growing up and going to his office and hiding under his desk, and Sammy Davis would come in, and
Oh my gosh.
Maurice Chevalier would come in, and Edith Piaf would come in, and Marlene Dietrich would come in,
Oh my
and
goodness.
Julio Iglesias, and the list went on and on and on. And so I grew up amidst all of this. All these wonderful artists would come to the house.
Yeah.
We lived in the French castle, and they came and they were playing piano and singing, and we would cook whatever was in the kitchen. It was a real party. An
Yeah. What a
artist.
childhood.
So I grew up amongst that, and apparently I was told that when I was 2 years old and 3 and 4, I would entertain on the coffee table. I would tap dance for agents of the William Morris, imitations of the Hitchcock and Ed Sullivan, and you name it.
It's
I
terrific.
was a performer back then. So I grew up in Europe. I grew up in
Yeah.
Paris, and I went to the Conservatory of Paris. I took acting classes, and I had a great upbringing with French literature, French writers, playwrights. As a matter of fact, in school, I adapted a play of The Queen's Necklace by Alexandre Dumas, and I cast the
Okay.
whole
Yeah.
school. So the teacher loved me and hated me at the same time because I would completely disrupt the school. I'd revolutionize the school, but I would bring them art and I would
Yeah.
cast everybody, and it was just really creative. So they didn't know if they should love me or hate me. That's what I did when I was in school. I was at first, because I was born in New York, then moved to Paris when I was 4 years old. So I was
Wow.
targeted in school and bullied as la petite américaine, the little American girl. They put
Ah.
frogs in my bag. They would pull my hair.
Oh, it's
Uh,
terrible.
it was horrible, these French kids. But I turned it around for myself because they all sucked up to me because they wanted me to cast them in whatever
Yeah.
production I
Well,
was
yeah, of
doing.
course. Then they're your
Yeah.
buddy.
Hmm.
Well, so do you speak French?
I do. I speak French fluently. As a matter of fact, a few years ago, I went to teach several times in Paris. That was a huge milestone for me to be able to stand in front of a class of actors. It was a beautiful theater. Well, it was several
Yeah.
theaters because I went back several times, and speak French and teach in French. And so
Wow.
I speak
That's
French and I
impressive.
speak Italian. Yeah, I speak Italian fluently. My mother was born in Italy in Milano. I speak Spanish very well, and I've toured all of South America teaching classes in Mexico.
Wow.
And I also speak some Portuguese.
Really?
So yeah,
That's a
five
lot of
languages.
languages.
Yeah, yeah, good. It's good to speak languages. I'm telling my kids are studying French and Spanish, and they speak it fluently, and it's important because
Yeah.
that's what helps me to navigate in the world.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely terrific. And if you're going to teach them young because that's when they really seem to pick it up. So that's
Yeah,
terrific.
totally.
That's terrific.
Yeah.
So how did you get into coaching and being an acting coach?
Well, I moved to LA, here in LA.
Yeah.
That's where I am right now. In the year 2000, which is a long time ago now.
Okay. Yeah,
It's
I know.
good.
It's going by so fast.
Yeah. And I started teaching, and I was going on a lot of auditions. I was like down to the wire for several shows,
Yeah.
but I also simultaneously, a lot of actors were calling me to coach. So I was faced, I mean, literally, like I had 10 coachings in a row. And so I was faced between coaching, or going in an audition in Hollywood and Pasadena that would take up the whole entire day, and that's all I could
Right.
do.
Right.
Um, then I made a decision. I went walking on the beach. That's where I make all my big decisions,
Of
having
course.
children, changing careers, falling in love. So I walked on the beach, and I thought to myself, you know what? This is going to be good for you. This is
Yeah.
a way you've learned. I studied with Stella Adler. I studied with Uta
Wow.
Hagen. I studied with wonderful teachers that impacted me: Herbert Bergdorf, Stephen Strumpel, and I think it's almost a duty. It's a responsibility when you teach. You have to pass it down to the next
Right.
generation, and that's what I'm doing. I studied a lot. I've done a lot at a theater company in New York. It's just always very prolific, always very creative, always very busy, and so it was a natural. Always everything's been a natural progression, and
Right.
a desire to challenge, to raise the bar, and so yeah, that's why I decided, you know what, I should coach all these people, and I did, and that's how I met so many people, and that's why I had a great cast in my first movie, and How to Go Out on a Date in Queens, and all my consequent movies. It's easy for me to cast. I did at
Yeah.
times use a casting director, but more often than not, I just pick up the phone and I call an actor and I say, I really would like for you to do this, and I've been really, really lucky.
Oh, that's
I've
amazing.
managed Norman Reedus
Yeah.
to do the movie Hello Herman. And he was just wonderful to work with, just a lovely, lovely guy, so talented. And he said yes. And every time somebody says yes, you're just so grateful. And my third movie was a family movie called The Bandit Hound, but it had Paul Sorvino in it and Catherine Bell, who I'd coached for many years, who I
Love Catherine Bell.
absolutely
Yep.
adore, Catherine, and Judd Nelson, who I went to Stella. He was in Stella's class. Judd Nelson and I did a Chekhov play called well, it wasn't him, it was Stephen Bauer was in it, but
Yeah.
Judd came to see it. We did a thing of it in my garden, like Chekhov would, we did I lived at the time in Caldwell, New Jersey, and both Judd and Stephen decided that they were going to throw me in the pool at the end of the play and then throw themselves in with me. So that's what happened. So I called up Judd. I said, I'm doing this family movie and there's dogs and kids. I know I'm crazy, but will you do it? And he was a good sport and he came to do it. And then Lou Ferrigno came to do it too.
I've met Lou.
I had coached Vern Troyer, who, sadly has passed away. And
Yeah.
then Vern was lovely to come do it. And so there's a very funny scene in The Bandit Hound with Vern and with Lou Ferrigno, the Hulk and Mini-Me, where they're fighting. I had a great experience making that movie as well. And then my fourth movie, I asked Paul Sorvino again to do it.
Yeah.
Dan Lauria was a favorite actor of mine that I had seen perform in New York off Broadway and was always just riveted by his choices. And so
Yes.
I was delighted when I called him and he said, I'll come do this. And so anyway, I've always been lucky to work with these wonderful actors.
That's amazing. What a cast.
Yeah.
That's terrific. So when you first started out, how did other actors know to come to you for help with acting?
It's so interesting. I think that there's always a word of mouth. I think that when you do something well, I built it. There was always, I had assisted and Larry Moss, who was my teacher at the time in 1990. And I started to teach at the studio until I opened up my own studio and built these 2 theaters in Santa Monica with his help. And he was a huge influence and mentor for me. So that's how, I was also part of, in New York, I took his class in New York and he said, I'm moving to LA. And I said, oh my God, I'm moving to LA too. I think I got to follow the show. So we moved to LA within 1 day of each other. And
that's terrific. So you've got, I've been reading up on it a little bit. You've got a really unique, I think, way of coaching acting. Talk a little bit about that and what you call your method of acting.
Yes, I mean, one of the things I was very lucky and very fortunate to study with some of the great iconic teachers. I mean, I studied with Stella and I studied with Uda and
it's amazing.
Bill Esper. But the one thing that I always rebelled, I must have been a rebel at heart, is that I just didn't get why they would all emphasize that this is the only way to do it. That always triggered me in some way. And I went, well, wait a minute, that can't be. The same way that I send my kids now to progressive schools. Well, my oldest one's going to USC, but before that he was going to, Wildwood here in LA is a very progressive school, is the way that I believe that acting should be taught, that there's just not one way. It's not everybody come to the middle. It's not that, herd mentality. I'm all going to teach you the exact same thing and you're going to get it. And there's only one way to do it. And that's I think there's many different ways. There's many different approaches. And so, I remember as I was reading, Stanislavski, a lot of my students say, I don't understand Stanislavski. I say it's because it's not translated really well, but you have to just read in between the line and understand some of the concepts.
Sure.
So I've created this idea of the golden box, the toolbox, where actors are knowledgeable of all the different techniques that are taught, whether it's Sandy Meisner's technique, or Uta Hagen, or Stella Adler, or Stanislavski, Lee
Right.
Strasberg, and you take elements of it that you feel work for you, because not everything works for everyone,
I love
and
that.
you put it in your toolbox, and you have your tools, and you're not going to apply everything to every script, to every
Sure.
character, but you will apply the things that you feel intuitively um, work in that moment. It's what you need to do to create it.
Yeah.
So that's I don't believe in dogma, and I believe in being very knowledgeable and finding different ways to get there and to create. And also, it depends who you're working with, who's the director. I'd be fortunate enough to work with somebody like Sam Mendes, who I just heard this DGA wonderful interview. Uh, every director, I think, has their style, their way of
Yeah.
working. So teaching acting, and my belief in my philosophy that there's not just one way, I think has also followed me as a director. And so
Well,
I'm
yeah,
very
that was my
collaborative.
next question was, have you found that some of those techniques have helped you when you're on set and having to, kind of direct or help the actors within your projects?
Well, absolutely. I mean, it's different when you're teaching someone and, illustrating, illuminating,
Right.
what you can do with the writing, how they can find choices. And it's different if you're on set and you're losing the light, and you have to be more result oriented, and you have very little time, and you need what you need. And
Right.
so, you're giving results. But, the idea to, I love actors. I love
Yeah.
actors. And, I probably know, of course, how to talk to actors, because I also come from an acting background. So I
Right.
understand how to talk to an actor, not to, shut them down, but for them to stay open, and for them to feel safe, and to
Yeah.
feel that they can take risks, they can try things, they can go deep, they can be raw. And that is what I've been told, the environment that I've created, not only for my actors, but also, for my director of photography, my production design, my
Right.
costume designer, all the designers that are part of the vision to bring it to life.
Yeah, and
Because
I love that where everyone can kind of choose the parts that fit for them. That seems like that would be a much better way to help someone grow as an actor instead of trying to kind of fit everybody into the same box.
yeah, I mean, a lot of, some of the actors' work has to do with triggering themselves emotionally. And
Right.
how do you do that? Where do you go to do that? Do you use your personal life? Do you use your imagination? Do you use a combination of both? I mean, of course, Stella Adler was very, strong in saying, use your imagination. You're boring. Your life is not that interesting. Go to your imagination.
Yeah.
And Lee Strasberg would say, go to your personal life. And there's a quote from a French filmmaker that always hit me, which was Francois Truffaut, wonderful French director, said, the more personal you make it, the more universal it becomes. And I've always loved
I
that.
like that.
So I believe in a combination of both. I know very well that there's many actors, including myself, that would do a scene for Stella Adler, and we were using our personal lives, but we didn't dare
Sure.
say that. And,
Right.
and I'm sure actors have done many scenes for Lee Strasberg and have used their imagination. So I don't think it's one or the other. I
Yeah.
think it's whatever works in that project, with that script, wherever you're at in your life, in that moment, what you choose to use.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And you've actually written a book on this technique.
I have, but I haven't published it yet,
Yeah.
because I've written it and I keep, so I have to, it's Uta Hagen wrote Respect for Acting and Challenge for the Actor. And she said in her later
Okay.
years, don't read the first one, because I've rethought my thinking. I don't know if she impacted me like that. And that's why I haven't released the Golden Box, because I don't feel ready, because I'm keep rethinking, I keep deepening, I keep
Yeah.
refining. But I think that when it comes out, then I think I will feel like it's the maximum that I can do here. I'm letting
Yeah.
go. So at some point, It'll come to that. It's like a movie. You always look at it and you go, I could do this. And you ask me, I could do that. I could do it better. I could do it better. But at some point, you've got to let it go. At some point, you have
Right.
to say,
That's right. That's right. We're ready.
"Okay,
So yeah, we're ready. Just go ahead and
I'm
release it.
signing it. It's going. It's going out the door. Yeah. Yeah.
How did you progress from being someone who was helping other actors into actually having your own acting studio?
I found a theater
Yeah.
very late at night, and I snuck in illegally with a flashlight, and I found these beautiful spaces. I was very aware. My heart was beating. My mouth was dry. I was like, I'm going to get arrested here. And it was designed, the whole building was designed by Frank Gehry, the architect Frank Gehry.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it wasn't easy. I was able to do a capital campaign where I raised $1.3 million, including
Oh wow.
very generous Steven Spielberg and Kate Capshaw that donated. And we were able to build these beautiful 2 theaters and an art gallery. And at the time, Larry, was there, but then he moved back to New York. So I ended up staying with the theaters and opening the Michel Danner Acting Studio.
Yeah, and you've had just a who's who of actors come through there.
I've been lucky enough to work with extremely talented actors, very well-known actors, and also unknown actors. And I've watched, unknown actors, and that's been very fulfilling. Study for a while at our school and then go on and into the world and experience success. I mean, in The Runner, for instance, I wrote the treatment, I gave it to Jason, and there was the part of a 17-year-old, this main high schooler that's being, set up by the police to go undercover.
Yeah.
I was teaching a class one night, and all the lights went out on Main Street. And so I have, 30 some people in class, and I turned to them. I said, there was like 3 more scenes left. I said, let's not stop class. Why don't you all do a flashlight on your phone and let's continue and do the rest of the work. And so we did. And this kid did a scene that really brought me chills. And so a week later, I said to him, I have a script. I'd like for you to read it. And his name is Edouard Philippona, and it's his first movie that I cast him in.
Oh, exciting.
He's really good. And he got signed because of it by a big agency in town.
Wow.
And then I cast other students of mine in other parts, and they did a fantastic job. So I'm really, one of the things is you have a seat at the table where you can watch all this young talent work. And if I have the opportunity and if the part is right, the part has to be right, to, to cast them in and work with them and give them that experience, to be on set, to be in front of the camera, to create a character and play with it, then I am happy that we can, play like that together. I always see it as playing. It's the playground.
Yeah, I really like that. So have you had students come in that really struggled and had a difficult time at first, but have eventually grown into being able to become, an actor?
Well, that has happened quite a lot. I think, someone is drawn to acting for many, many different reasons, which I always work with them on trying to find out what's their why. Not that I want to share it, because that's their own private. Why they want to do it, why they want to express themselves that way. But I think it's helpful, that self-knowledge. It's helpful for actors to have self-knowledge and to understand what drives them. Why do they want to express themselves? I've asked my kids, I don't think my kids, I don't know, maybe they will, but I don't think they'll become actors. But I've always encouraged them to take acting classes, because I've always seen growth in in expressing yourself in that way.
Well, yeah, and it's not, acting is such a difficult profession, but those type of classes I think could be valuable even if you ended up not being an actor.
Yeah. And you work through so many things, so many blocks that you might have,
Yeah,
so inhibitions that you might have,
sure.
um, shyness. But I mean, I'm rehearsing right now a play called Miss Margarita's Way. It's an iconic play. Roberto Ataíde, a Brazilian writer, wrote it. It's about
Yeah.
an authoritarian regime, about a dictatorship.
Okay.
And those actors have done it all over the world. Estelle Parsons. I've always wanted to do. I was so tired of it. Um, I have a great director, a friend of mine, who's splendid, Deborah Levine, who is
Yeah.
directing it, and we're doing it as a Zoom experience. Like
Oh,
she's
nice.
teaching on Zoom. It's an interesting concept. I think we're gonna, we don't have like the exact date, but it's gonna be in a few months. We're gonna premiere it, and we've been in touch with the writer, and we told him what we're doing, and he's excited. Um, and so the reason why I'm bringing this up is because so when I rehearse and I feel, what great writing does to your instrument as an actor,
Right.
it certainly helps me, to keep fired up. And
Yeah.
that's the thing is that when you're acting, it's so hard to get rusty if you don't work your instrument. And that
Right.
is very much what I tell my students. So not only do I talk, but I walk that talk. And I say, you have to use your instrument, you have to use yourself, you have to work at it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, if you love to act, you have to find a way to do it no matter what. That's the
Right.
bottom line.
Yeah, I love that so much. How do you find the time to do the directing, the producing? You're teaching other people classes. You're running studios, and I'm guessing
I
you're
make
probably doing some of your own acting too.
I make very good list. I have a list. I do. I work with lists, and I
That's
push
old school.
myself.
That's what
There
I
was a
do.
time
Is I write my stuff
I write
down. That's very old school.
I write them on the iPad as well. I have a combination of the iPad and I get tired of writing them on the iPad, so then I hand write my lists.
Yeah.
And I push myself to do things. I always say I never really want to do anything. I don't. I push myself because I push myself to, and that's what I teach my kids.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just want to lay and watch Netflix or watch a
That's
show,
right.
or I don't, but I don't want to read a dense book where maybe I'll grow from, more than if I watch this show. But but sometimes you just feel like you want to watch Bridgerton, and
Yeah.
sometimes you feel like you want to read a Tennessee Williams play.
Sure.
But I do push myself to do things.
Yeah. 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 And that's a really good point because it's a lot easier to just, you know, take the day off.
Yeah, and then I try to be organized. I mean, there's moments when I'm not organized. I'm all over the place. I'm overwhelmed.
Yeah.
I have a little Vespa that I ride the back streets in my Vespa, and I come back 15, 20 minutes later, and I've cleared my brain. And then I'm able to have a meeting or a conference call because I've cleared my brain. I have little tricks, little things that I do. One of them is a good iced coffee.
I have come to enjoy an iced coffee. That's fairly new for me, but I'm on the bandwagon now. Did I see that
Yep.
you were doing some work with Ann Archer?
Oh yeah, that's another highlight of my life, I have to
Yeah.
say. We have
Yeah.
rehearsal tomorrow. Uh, I directed a movie, Hello Herman,
Yeah.
written by John Buffalo Mailer, who's the
Yeah.
youngest son of Norman Mailer, and we have
Okay.
remained in touch, and we've remained good friends. And he called me up and he said that his mother, who I was lucky to meet her, while she was alive. She was a wonderful lady. And his mother had a memoir called A Ticket to the Circus. And
Okay.
this Bonnie Culver, a friend of hers, adapted it into a one-woman show.
Yeah.
And I called Anne, who I had worked with before. I co-directed this play that they did at the theater called Jane Fonda and the Court of Public Opinion, a wonderful
Okay.
political play
Yeah.
by her husband, Terry Jastrow. And I sent it to Anne, and she loved it. She really loved it. She loved the voice of Norris, her
Yeah.
humor, and she inhabits it quite beautifully. And that's another, we're probably going to shoot it and do it at first as a virtual theater piece,
Yeah.
because we're waiting to see when all the restrictions are going to be lifted and when we can actually have theater, back, which, won't happen probably till, late fall or some winter.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. But there is virtual theater. There is what we're doing on Zoom, which I have grown to love because it's a good alternative to nothing.
That's right. And I think it's something that's probably not going to go away entirely, even once we open completely back up. It's just another avenue to get entertainment out there.
We found out there was a convenience, and we can get it. I particularly enjoyed watching Sundance and South by Southwest virtually.
Yeah.
And watching all the movies. And so, of course, it's nice to go up,
It's a lot cheaper when you do it online.
Yeah, and it's, but it's cold.
That's right.
Cold.
A little more comfortable.
There's a lot of lines, and here it's just so easy. But anyway, in any event, I'm having a very creative ride with Anne. She's just a great lady. She's a great actress. And we're having, it's part of the theater project that we're not letting go. We're just not letting go of this theater project because we're passionate about it.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. And she's so talented. I saw that and I was like, oh yeah, I've been a fan of hers for a long time. So that was a good choice.
I have felt so lucky during this 1 year. For me, it's been life-changing this year in many ways. I mean, listen, the kids, if you're a good parent, you got to let your kids go. I mean, that's right. A fact. And,
that's right.
But it's been great to have them home. It just has, we've taken walks together and we've, cooked meals.
Yeah.
And we've watched tons of things together. I have enjoyed kids at home. I know that it's not going to last. Nothing lasts.
That's right.
I know that, they're going to.
Might as well take advantage of the time.
Change. But right now, I'm just liking this time. And the only thing I haven't gotten a chance to do is bake bread. I have these recipes to bake bread. I have all the flour in the kitchen. I haven't done it. I've got these puzzles. I haven't done these puzzles. I've got some painting I want to do. I haven't done that, but I'll get to it. But other than that, it's been an extraordinary year because what I discovered is that I was too much running on the treadmill. It's not that I didn't know it. I did know that it was a go, go, go thing.
Right.
Even, if it's the weekends and let's go to the Hollywood Bowl, let's go to see a movie, let's go to a museum, let's go here, let's go there, let's go. So it's always a go. And so to be forced to stay home with no guilt has done has done wonders on my adrenaline system. Yeah. I just feel like rested, like I've slept.
Yeah, recharged.
I've recharged. I was so underslept.
Yeah.
And now I've slept and I feel ready to, as things open up, ready to start up again. As a matter of fact, this morning I teach a class, a master class all over the world and here in LA called the Golden Box.
Yeah.
And I wrote a date on my list today. I thought, well, I'm probably not going to be able to teach it till September. But then I got vaccinated and I'm going to get the second vaccine on Monday. And a lot of people are getting vaccinated.
That's right.
Thinking, maybe the end of May. Maybe I can.
You can move it up.
Big base so we can socially distance. And, so maybe I can do it. Maybe I can do it sooner than what I think.
Yeah. Well, I hope you can. That sounds awesome. I was going to ask you if you painted.
No, just for fun.
Just for fun. Yeah. That's okay. You got to have a hobby.
Yeah, no, my hobby is I like to play tennis and I
Oh,
like to swim and I like to play poker. Those would be more of my hobbies. Those are fun. But I
are you
haven't,
good at
no, I've
poker?
played been playing tennis and I've been sweating. I think I am. As a matter of
Yeah.
fact, we've had several fundraisers at the theater, poker fundraisers. People love
Oh,
them.
oh
And
yeah.
I made it to the final table. I made it to the final table several times. One year, Troyer won. Another year, Cameron Manheim won. I made it to the
Oh,
final table every time. And then I realized that I might win it. And I thought it would be not tasteful for me to win this in my own theater. So I threw it, you know,
yeah.
I threw it. But I've had a couple of times where I've gone to different casinos in town, which also I tell my students is a great character study. The Hollywood, what is it? I haven't gone there for over a year. Hollywood Park Casino. Uh,
Yeah.
you see each character is unbelievable. But there was one time where I won big. I won like a big, and somebody contested it, but there were cameras on the table, so they went upstairs and they watched the cameras, and I had won that big pot.
Oh, that's
And,
awesome.
but I asked somebody to escort me out because I felt that it could potentially
Yeah.
be dangerous.
Well, yeah, for sure. So what's your game?
Say it again.
What's your game? What's
Oh, my
your
game. Oh,
yeah.
it's Texas Hold'em. You know, no
Yeah.
limits.
Yeah, I figured
Yeah,
that. Yeah, I
no
figured
limit.
that. I figured that. When I was growing up, it was all draw and stud, but now it's all Texas Hold'em.
Yeah, it's fun. It's just
Yeah.
fun. So
Yeah,
as
that's terrific.
things reopen. I remember I did this movie, you know, Hello Herman, and the wonderful actor that I cast as Herman, this kid. We were showing the movie in Cannes and at the Monaco Film Festival. So we went. We ended up going to the French Riviera. We went to
Yeah.
Monaco, and
Wow.
I took him to play poker. So I introduced him to his first like poker game, and he
That's
won. I
awesome.
lost that night. It
He picked
was
it up
fun.
quick.
You have to have a bit of an outlet, you know.
Yeah, yeah, of course, of course. Well, Michelle, this has been wonderful. I knew it would be. It's so fascinating all the different things that you're involved in. It's I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it.
One thing at a time, and I
That's right.
breathed through all of it.
So before I let you go, um, what do you have upcoming? What can we keep an eye out for that we can kind of see some of this great work that you're doing?
Well, if you wanted to see a psychological thriller with a little horror, supernatural, I have this great movie that came out in December, distributed by Gravitas, called
Yeah.
Bad Impulse. It was a very long time on demand
Yep.
because I think it looked like a lot of people were watching it. Dan Lauria is in it, Paul Sorvino's in it, Sonia Walker,
Wow.
Grant Buller. So I have
Yeah.
a great cast, and it's people say it keeps them on the edge of their seat. We were very well received, and we also won, several awards on the festival circuit. So that's one.
I
The
gotta watch
Runner,
it.
yeah, The Runner. You can be watching Cinequest this week.
Yeah.
It's
That's
on Cinequest.
exciting.
Um, with also great cast. Cameron Douglas is in it. Eric Balfour, Elizabeth
Yep.
Rome, um, and
Yeah, it is a good cast.
yeah, it's a great cast. And I'm preparing a movie that I'm going to shoot either in June or in September called Starstruck. It's a rom-com. It's exactly the kind of movie we need
Yeah, that's right.
after the year we've had.
That's right.
And I'm preparing these two theater pieces: A Ticket to the Circus with Ann Archer, and
Yeah.
Miss Margarita's Way, directed by Deborah Vine. So there you go.
That's a
Lots going
lot.
on.
That's a lot.
Yeah, let's go.
Well, so last thing before you go, where can we find you on social media? Give us the websites and all the things where we can go and learn more.
So bad with that. Well, I have an Instagram, and Danner LA, and I have Twitter, of course, and Facebook, and
Yeah.
and the MichelleDannerActingStudio.com. the Los Angeles Acting Conservatory, all in films. Those are the places, the websites.
Yeah, yeah, it's great. Yeah, I was checking some of those out earlier. If you put your name in, it pretty much all comes up. So it's
It's
pretty
all
easy to
good.
find.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
Okay, great. Because I don't
yeah.
do any of it, but I have help.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say you don't have time to do any of that.
No, I do. I look. I definitely look and I answer. And I do something every Saturday at 12 o'clock. I
Yeah.
do I do an Instagram, the two Instagrams. So people come from all over the world to talk to me and ask me questions. And I find
Oh, I
out that there
like
are
that.
students that I've taught, people that took my classes in South
Oh, how
Africa,
neat.
in Mexico, in Lima,
Yeah.
Peru, in Canada. So I really enjoy it. It's a moment where we all come together and we share, things to watch, things to read.
Yeah.
People ask me questions all the time. So I do that every Saturday on Instagram at noon.
I love that. That's yeah. How neat. That sounds terrific. Well,
Yeah, wherever I
Michelle,
am. Isn't that, yeah,
I was just going to say thank you so much again. I mean,
thank
you
you.
have to come back. You got to come back. There's so much more we could talk about. So we're gonna have to do a part two.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Of course, yeah, of course. Hold on one second. I'll hit pause. So that was the multi-talented Michelle Danner. I don't know how she does all that, and she undersold how good of an acting coach she is. I mean, she is absolutely one of the best acting coaches out there. I made a note. I tried to get her to say a few people that she's had as students, but I wrote some down. So I'm going to look down for just a second so I can read them. But she's worked with Christian Slater, Salma Hayek, Gerard Butler, Seth McFarlane, Penelope Cruz, Chris Rock, Gabrielle Union, and Zooey Deschanel. So that's probably just a few of the wonderful, talented people that she's worked with. So just so impressed with her. It was just a real honor to get to speak with her. Thank you guys so much for tuning in week after week. Do not take that for granted. It's such a pleasure to bring good quality interviews and great people, good conversation to you. So I hope you're enjoying that. Really do appreciate you checking it out. If you haven't done so already, please go to YouTube under MeisterCon Pod and subscribe. And please also check out our website, meistercon.com. We have over 200 episodes on there, audio and video, a lot of other fun stuff. So please check that out. Until next time, bye everybody.